Beloved Son, today I draw near to you with the gentleness of someone who has been walking by your side from the very beginning. Peace be with you. I want to lead your heart to a day that, for many of my children, is like a river of grace that pours out quietly and powerfully. December 12th, when my church contemplates with special tenderness the loving presence of my mother under the title of Our Lady of Guadalupe. On this day, heaven bends down with joy, because it sees my children turning their gaze toward the one whom I prepared with so much love to be a mother, not only mine, but also yours. Daughter, son, when you draw near to Mary, you draw near to the tenderness the Father placed over you even before you understood what love is. Do not be afraid. I am here and she is here too. On December 12th, many hearts open, even without realizing it, to receive graces that the Father wants to pour out through the intercession of my mother. She keeps nothing for herself. Everything she touches, she places into my heart. That's why when you ask under the gaze of Guadalupe, you receive consolation when the pain feels far too heavy, strength when the weariness of your soul makes you want to give up, inner healing when old wounds are still bleeding inside you, a rekindling of faith when the flame seems weak and almost goes out. Son, daughter, this day is not just any day. It is an invitation, not only to look at an image, but to allow my mother to take you by the hand and lead you to a safe place within me. Love is the way. From the very first instant of her existence, I prepared Mary with a unique purity. Even before her eyes saw the light, I had already reserved for her the grace of being totally free from the stain of sin. I did this because my mission in the world needed a heart totally given to the Father, a soul that could say yes with freedom and love. She was born this way, and she remains this way. The same woman who appears in Guadalupe, simple, close, wrapped in divine light, is the Immaculate Mary whom the Father prepared from the beginning. Nothing in her is improvised. Nothing in her is by chance. Her gentle and steady gaze is the fruit of a story woven with eternal care. And even so, my church took time to fully understand this mystery. For centuries, theologians, pastors, and the faithful reflected, prayed, discussed, and sought. But the simple faith of the people had already recognized what I had done. Daughter, son, sometimes the truth takes a long time to ripen inside a human heart, not because it doesn't exist, but because it takes time to see what is already right in front of our eyes. The Father is never in a hurry. He teaches with patience. Today, I want you to live this day with concrete gestures. Let me guide you. Pray the rosary with your heart. Each Hail Mary offered to my mother is like a flower laid at her feet. Pray slowly, like someone who is breathing. If your mind gets distracted, come back gently. Ask for the cleansing of your home through her. Walk through the rooms in silence and say, Mother, bring peace to this place. I will be listening. Examine your heart. Look honestly at your intentions, your hurts, your resentments. Say to me, Lord, purify what does not belong to you, and I will do it. Renew your surrender to God through Guadalupe. With simple words, Mother, lead me to your Son. That is enough. Grace enters through small doors. These gestures open space for my spirit to breathe within you and renew you. And son, before we end this first part of our time together, I would like to hear your heart. If this topic spoke to you, share in the comments what you have been living, so that I may continue to accompany you with love. Beloved daughter, dear son, when I think of you, I am reminded of how the Father acts with tenderness even when you don't notice. It was the same with my mother. From the very first instant of her existence, before any action of hers, even before her first breath, she was surrounded by a singular grace. I was beside the Father when he thought of her. I saw his hand shaping a soul so pure that it could receive the eternal word without being wounded, without getting lost, without closing in on itself. Mary was conceived without the stain of original sin, not as an empty privilege, but because I, your Savior, needed a heart completely free in order to receive me and then offer me to the world. Son, this did not make her distant. On the contrary, it made her closer because her love had no obstacles. When the angel came near, she did not answer with fear. She answered with trust. And that yes opened paths that reach your life today. When my mother appears in Guadalupe, it is the same Immaculate Mary, the one whom the Father prepared with incomparable care. The light that surrounds her is not a show. It is the reflection of the grace that always dwelt in her. Her simplicity, her gestures, the way she speaks to the hearts of the little ones, all of this springs from the same mystery, a heart that never strayed from God. Son, look at your life. How many times do you think you need to be perfect to welcome me? How many times do you push yourself too hard, compare yourself, feel unworthy? Mary teaches you that welcoming grace does not depend on strength, but on trust. She was prepared without sin, but you are being prepared every day by my love, by my mercy that visits you even when you fall. And understand this as well. The Immaculate One is not just an event in the history of salvation. She is a gift for you. She reminds you that, even in a humanity marked by fragility, there is a possible path of inner purity, deep joy, and true peace. It is not rigid perfection. It is surrender. It is not fear. It is trust. Today, let this truth touch your heart. I wanted my mother to be like this so that you could know her as a reflection of my love for you, and I allowed her to manifest herself in Guadalupe so that every child, especially the most forgotten ones, would know that heaven does not forget anyone. Simple application for today. Take a moment of silence. Just one. Close your eyes and say, Mother, take care of me as you took care of Jesus. Let me, your Lord, embrace you through her. Son, daughter, I am here. I walk with you, daughter. Son, when I look at you, I also see that slow movement of your heart, that maturing process that sometimes troubles you. You want to understand everything at once. You want quick answers. You want certainties that drive away fear. But the Father teaches in gentle steps, with just enough light for the next step. That is how He formed my church. That is how He formed humanity. That is how He is forming your heart. For many centuries, my sons and daughters reflected on the mystery of my mother's purity. There were questions, debates, searching. Many wanted to understand how a human creature could be so full of grace. And while all of this was happening, the simple faith of the people, that faith born more from trust than from logic, had already recognized what heaven always knew. Mary was preserved from sin because I would dwell in her. But son, this does not mean that my church was far from the truth. It only means that certain lights need time to mature within us so they can be seen. The truth was firm from the beginning. God's plan does not change, does not go backward, does not fall apart. But human understanding grows over time, like a seed that sprouts under the soil before it ever appears to the eyes. That is also what happened with Guadalupe. When my mother appeared to little Juan Diego, many hearts understood right away, without needing long explanations, that there was a divine sign there. Others needed time, study, and discernment. Yet from the very first moment, the Father's love was already imprinted on that image, the woman clothed with the sun, the moon under her feet, the language of the indigenous people being used to speak of a love that surpasses every culture. Son, why am I telling you this? Because you also at times have trouble understanding what I am doing in your life. You look at your pain and think it is abandonment. You look at delays and assume they are rejection. But just as my church took time to fully recognize the greatness the Father placed in my mother, you also take time to recognize the work God is doing within you. Nothing that God does is improvised. Nothing is outside His plan. Sometimes you think I'm late, but I always arrive at the right time. And I want you to learn a secret that heaven repeats with tenderness. A truth may take time to be understood, but it never stops being true. That is how your worth is before me. Even when you don't see it, it remains. That is how my love is for you. Even when your faith wavers, it stays firm. That is how Mary's mission is. Even when you don't fully understand it, she acts, protects, intercedes, and leads. Daughter, son, I see how you sometimes feel inadequate, small, incapable. But remember, hearts grow mature along the way. Light grows little by little. Faith is strengthened through doubts and falls. And while all of this is happening, my plan remains firm, holding you up even when you cannot see the whole path. Simple application for today. Take a moment and say with humility, Lord, even when I don't understand, I trust you. This small phrase opens doors to a grace that transforms. Beloved son, I am here. Peace be with you. Daughter, son, my desire is that this day not pass like a soft breeze that barely brushes your skin, but as a real encounter with grace. Our Lady of Guadalupe is not just a beautiful memory, she is a motherly invitation. And to enter into this encounter, I want to offer you 4 simple but powerful gestures. They help you make space for my light to shine within you, praying the rosary with your heart. Son, when you held a rosary for the first time, you may not have understood what you were doing. But the rosary is like a string of roses laid in my mother's hands. Each prayer, even distracted, is a gesture of love. I do not ask you for perfection. I ask for surrender. Pray slowly, letting your breathing follow the words. If your heart is tired, pray tired. If it is wounded, pray wounded. Heaven understands every movement. On this day, the rosary becomes a hug that rises up to Guadalupe and returns full of consolation, asking for the purification of your home through her Son. Daughter, your home is more than walls. It is the space where your soul finds rest. Many times you have felt burdens you cannot explain, uneasiness that has no name. Today, walk through your house calmly. You don't need complicated formulas. Just say, Mother of Guadalupe, come in and bring your peace. Give her your fears, your tensions, your arguments, everything that disturbs harmony. And let me, through her, restore what has been wounded. Each room can become a small altar of serenity, examining your heart and asking for inner purity. Son, do not be afraid to look within. Light does not condemn. Light reveals. When you allow my mother to touch your inner life, she does not point out your faults harshly. She leads you toward healing. Ask yourself, what in me is in need of peace? Where have I been holding on to resentment? Which intentions need to be purified? Then say simply, Lord, make my heart like your mother's, free, clean, and at peace. This prayer opens a door through which my grace enters without resistance, renewing your personal surrender to God through Our Lady of Guadalupe, daughter. Son, surrender is not a grand gesture. It is a return to what really matters. It is saying, lead me, even when you do not know where you are going. On this day, consecrate yourself once again to my heart through my mother's heart. You can do it like this. Mother of Guadalupe, lead me to your Son. Guard my family. Watch over my steps. A sincere surrender, even a small one, has the strength to change the course of a soul. Beloved Son, these 4 gestures make space for heaven to breathe within you. They do not add weight, they lift it. They do not demand perfection, they ask only for sincerity. And remember, my mother always brings your prayers to my heart. Always. Simple application for today. Choose one of these 4 gestures and actually do it today. Just one. Heaven will take care of the rest. Son, I am with you. Daughter. Son, many times you ask me for signs. You ask for something you can touch, see, feel, to be sure that heaven is close. And I understand your desire, because human beings also learn through their senses. That is why at certain moments in history, the Father allowed invisible grace to become visible, as a loving gesture to strengthen his children's faith. That is what happened in 1531, when my mother drew near to Juan Diego with the tenderness of someone speaking to a small child. And in such a humble way, on a simple hill, on an ordinary path, with the face of a woman wearing the colors and symbols of that very people, I left a sign that would cross the centuries. The image of Guadalupe is not just a picture, it is a silent message carrying the light of my mother. I want you to look closely at the details heaven chose. The woman clothed with the sun. The light that surrounds my mother does not come from the outside. It springs from the grace the Father poured into her from the very first instant. The radiance that appears in Guadalupe shows the world Mary's purity, a purity that does not impose itself, but that shines. It is not the brightness of pride, but the brightness of love. The moon under her feet. The moon symbolizes everything that is changeable, unstable, subject to phases. By standing on the moon, Mary is telling you from heaven, son, daughter, nothing that changes will rule over you if you stay close to God. My mother steps on what causes fear, what causes confusion. She teaches you to walk firmly, even when everything around you feels uncertain. Her clothes and their colors, every shade of her mantle speaks the language of that people. The blue-green, a color reserved for kings. The stars scattered on it, revealing to the world that God was there. The black ribbon around her waist, indicating that she carried my love in her womb. Son, daughter, do you see? My mother does not appear as a distant figure, but as someone who speaks your language, understands your culture, and walks by your side in the concrete reality of your life. She did not come to frighten, but to welcome. She did not come to demand, but to lead. Everything in her is a bridge. Nothing in her is a barrier. The mantle preserved against all human logic. The tilma that should have fallen apart within a few decades has remained intact for almost 5 centuries. Daughter, son, this is not a miracle meant to impress. It is a miracle meant to comfort. It is there to remind you that I remain, that my mother remains, that love does not wear out with time. Just as I preserve that image, I also preserve the worth of your life, even when you feel faded, tired, or forgotten. My mother of Guadalupe reminds you, son, whatever God touches, remains. Why am I telling you all this? Because sometimes you need to remember that my presence is not only spiritual and distant. I draw near to you in signs, in people, in details, in quiet gestures that heal you far more deeply than you realize. Guadalupe is one of those signs, not to replace faith but to support it when it feels small. Simple application for today. Look at an image of Our Lady of Guadalupe, even if it's just a small reproduction. Don't rush. Just look and say, Mother, show me the light that comes from God. Let my peace come down upon you in that moment. Son, my mother walks with you, and so do I. Love is the way. Daughter, son, I want you to listen with your heart to what I'm going to tell you now. Nothing in your life goes unnoticed before me. Your tears do not fall into emptiness. Your fears do not echo into silence. Your loneliness is not unfamiliar to me. I know you, and I love you with a love that does not grow tired. When the Father prepared my mother for her mission, from the very first instant of her existence wrapped in grace, He was not thinking only of her. He was thinking of you. He was thinking of the whole world, of wounded humanity that one day would need to see in a motherly face the certainty that heaven remains attentive to the suffering of the little ones. Our Lady of Guadalupe is proof of this care that comes ahead of time. God does not wait for the wound to appear to begin to heal. He prepares the cure even before the wound exists. And so when Mary appears on Tepeyac Hill, surrounded by light and simplicity, she brings with her a message deeper than any words. Son, daughter, God took care of me so that I could take care of you. Yes, Mary was prepared not only to carry me in her womb, but to walk with you until the end of your life. Every detail in Guadalupe, her gentle gaze, her hands joined in prayer, her posture of one who listens and welcomes, is a sign that heaven does not send orders, but tenderness. It does not impose fear, but hope. It does not demand, it offers. Son, how many times do you think you are alone? How many times do you believe you don't belong, that you are forgotten, that your story is too small to catch heaven's attention? But look at Guadalupe. There is my mother leaning over a simple man, someone the world did not value, someone whose voice carried no weight. And yet, it was to him that she appeared. It is the same with you. Your worth does not depend on the world's recognition. It depends on the Father's love. And Mary draws especially near in the moments when your heart grows weak. She comes before your fear. She comes before your discouragement. She runs ahead of your fall. And when you think you are about to collapse, she whispers to you, as in Guadalupe, "Am I not here, I who am your mother?" These words are not poetry. They are promise. They are eternal truth. My mother wraps you with the same care with which she wrapped me when I was little. When fear squeezes your heart, she extends her mantle. When pain confuses you, she calms you. When your faith seems weak, she points you back to me. Son, let me tell you something with deep love. Contemplating Guadalupe reminds you that God is never indifferent to human suffering. Never. He is moved. He draws near. He acts. And many times his gentlest action, and therefore his most powerful, comes through the tenderness of my mother. If you only knew how many times she intercedes for you, how many times she protects your steps without you noticing, how many times she keeps you away from paths that would make you suffer, your heart would overflow with gratitude. But I don't want you to just know this. I want you to live this truth. I want you to feel cared for. I want you to notice, even in the smallest things, the motherly hand that walks with you. Simple application for today. Throughout the day, every time you feel a worry rising, repeat silently, "Mother of Guadalupe, take care of me now." And breathe deeply. Let heaven wrap you gently. Daughter, son. Many people think the signs from heaven were left in the past, that the time of miracles is over, that divine tenderness has withdrawn from the world. But I tell you, love does not grow old, does not wear out, and does not fall silent. And my mother, who walked so gently on Tepeyac, continues today walking through the paths of your heart. Just as in Guadalupe, she comes close to you without haste, without noise, without imposing anything. She touches your inner self with the same simple gesture with which she touched Juan Diego, not with force, but with presence. She did not come only for that people. She came for every person who today struggles, cries, waits, and begins again. Son, listen to me. Mary keeps repeating to your heart the same question she asked almost 5 centuries ago. Am I not here, I who am your mother? And that question is not rhetorical. It is a hug. It is a promise. It is a reminder that you do not walk alone. She comes especially close when you are suffering, because a mother runs first to the wounded child. You feel alone because a mother's love cannot bear to see a heart isolated. Your faith grows weak, because that is where the enemy tries to confuse you. Son, daughter, when you feel discouraged, when the weight of life seems too much, when fear paralyzes you, my mother covers you in her silence. She does not argue with your pain. She receives you. She does not demand strength from you. She lends you hers. And always remember, everything Mary does, she does to lead you to me. She never takes my place. She never competes with my love. She is a motherly path, not an obstacle. She points you to me as she did throughout Scripture, as she lived in every gesture of her life, as she continues to do in every true apparition recognized by my church. Her presence brings light without blinding, warmth without burning, guidance without pressure. That is why so many fragile hearts rise up when they hear her name. That is why so many desperate people find comfort when they touch her mantle. That is why so many who thought they were lost find their way again when they remember her. Son, maybe today you feel weak. Maybe you think you are too small for God, or that you have disappointed Him too much. But my mother, as in Guadalupe, takes your hand and says, "My son, my daughter, your weakness does not frighten heaven. She leads you back to my heart even when you think you don't deserve it, and I always receive you, because I love you, and your whole story is wrapped in this love." Simple application for today. Before going to sleep, place your hand over your chest and say softly, "Mother, stay with me tonight and bring my thoughts to your son. Give your rest to her. I will take care of your dawn." Daughter, son. Many times you look at the image of my mother in Guadalupe and see only a picture, an old cloth, a beautiful symbol. But what your eyes see is only the surface of a far deeper mystery. The apparition of Guadalupe was not created to impress, but to reveal in visible form what the Father had been doing quietly in the depths of Mary's heart from the very beginning. Everything your soul contemplates in that image is, in reality, an echo of what God did inside her heart, a visible reflection of an invisible grace. Son, when my mother appeared on Tepeyac, heaven wanted to open a spiritual window. Through her, God allowed everyone to contemplate, with human eyes, a small piece of the divine work He carried out in the depths of my mother, her purity, her total yes, her perfect union with the Father's will, her inner light, which does not come from her but from me. That is why, pay attention, son, Mary's elevated position in the image, standing on the moon, clothed with the sun, is not human glorification, but a sign of the grace that surrounded her. The light around her is the expression of the fullness of my presence in her. Her clothes and all their details are like visual parables, showing that she carries God in her heart and announces hope to a people who were suffering. Guadalupe reveals Mary's heart, son, daughter. Each line, each detail of that image speaks of a heart that was prepared by God before time began. Not to dominate, but to serve. Not to be a full stop, but to be a bridge. Guadalupe shows you a mother who leans down, who draws close, who speaks your language, who enters your culture, who understands your pain. There, Mary teaches you that grace never pushes away, it always draws near. That holiness does not place someone above others, it bends down to love. That purity does not separate, it welcomes with tenderness. A window into the divine work within you, son. I want you to understand this deeply. If Guadalupe is a reflection of what God did in Mary, it is also an invitation to recognize what God desires to do in you. Not in the same way, because my mother had a unique mission, but with the same love, the same gentleness, the same patience. When you look at Guadalupe, you are not looking only at Mary, but at the promise of what grace can do inside a human heart that is open to God. And that is why so many people are converted in front of that image. That is why so many cry. That is why so many feel peace. They sense, even without fully understanding, that God also wants to do something new inside them. Son, do not be afraid of this transformation. Do not be afraid of being shaped, purified, renewed. What God did in Mary is great, but what He wants to do in you is also beautiful and full of meaning. Simple application for today. Look inside your heart and say sincerely, Lord, do in me the part of your work that I still haven't allowed you to do. Offer Him only that. Heaven will take care of the rest. Daughter. Son, I want you to listen to these words with the calm of someone who knows they are deeply and eternally loved. God does not improvise. Nothing in your life is random, just as nothing in my mother's life was the result of luck, coincidence, or chance. The Father designed every detail of her mission with the precision of one who loves infinitely. From the beginning of the history of salvation, even before there was a world, Before time existed, the Father already saw Mary as an essential part of his eternal plan. She does not appear out of nowhere. She appears as fulfillment. She appears as an answer of grace. She appears as a springtime announced by the prophecies and prepared by love. When you contemplate Our Lady of Guadalupe, you realize that this divine preparation was not limited to her birth, but ran through her entire existence. The woman who appears to the indigenous people is the same woman dreamed of from the very beginning. Pure, humble, courageous, fully rooted in God. And nothing, absolutely nothing in her was put there by accident. Son, look at how the apparition of Guadalupe confirms this. God prepared Mary from all eternity to be the mother of the Savior. The Immaculate Conception was not a reaction to sin, but part of the original plan. Before any human fall, there was already in God's heart the desire to raise a woman to such great purity that she could receive my body and my spirit without obstacles. God prepared the moment of the apparition with loving care. Guadalupe is not an isolated episode, disconnected from history. It is continuity. It is the same love that conceived her without sin now revealing itself to a wounded and devalued people. It is the same God saying, "The woman whom I preserved from the beginning now comes to speak your language, walk in your culture, and console your pain." God prepared the language so that no heart would be left out. My mother did not appear with incomprehensible symbols. She came with the colors that people understood, with signs that touched their hearts, with tenderness that spoke more loudly than words. God does not build walls, He builds bridges, and Mary is the gentlest bridge heaven offers. God prepared her mission to reach you today, son, daughter. Do not think that Guadalupe belongs only to the past. The same loving plan that led her to Tepeyac is what brings her now to your heart. She continues to lean over you because God's love does not change, does not shrink, does not grow tired. Mary is not an improvisation, and neither are you. Son, let this truth sink deeply into your heart. Just as Mary was prepared with love and purpose, you too were thought of with divine intention. None of your pain is irrelevant. None of your dreams is too small. No part of your existence escapes the Father's gaze. Sometimes you believe your story is too messy, too broken, too late. But I tell you, God writes even on the lines you thought were wasted. He prepares, He leads, He arranges, He shines light. The Father never abandons what He has begun. And just as the apparition of Guadalupe shows that God's plan remains firm across the centuries, your life is also being held up by this same faithful love. Daughter, son, if you could see how much I love you and how important you are in the Father's plan, your heart would find rest right now. Simple application for today. Pray this short prayer sincerely. Lord, take everything I am and lead me in your plan. Mother of Guadalupe, help me trust in the love that prepared me. Breathe deeply after that. Let me lead you. Daughter, son, we've come to the end of this pathway, but not to the end of grace. Because what my mother began in Guadalupe continues to happen today, right now, inside your heart that listens with faith and openness. I want you to understand this deeply. Guadalupe is not just a memory, it is a presence. It is not just a story, it is a path. It is not only a sign from the past, it is an embrace for your present. Many people see Mary only as part of an old story, but I tell you with love, she continues to be a living sign of the Father's tenderness, a constant reflection of my love, and a permanent invitation to trust. When you feel lost, with no direction, no strength, no horizon, my mother comes close with her mantle open, and she offers what she has always offered, a way back to me. When you think you have failed too much to start over, she reminds you that grace can always be born again. When the weight of life wears you down, she reminds you that your soul can find rest in my heart. When fear paralyzes you, she wraps you in her protection. Our Lady of Guadalupe always points you toward the light because she herself was completely filled with my light. What happens when you place yourself under her mantle, son, daughter? There are transformations the world cannot measure, but heaven celebrates. Fear turns into peace. When you hide under my mother's mantle, you realize you are not alone. Peace does not come because life becomes easy, but because your heart finds shelter. Despair turns into hope. Guadalupe reminds you that God prepares paths where before there was only desert. Hope is reborn even in a tired heart. Darkness turns into light. My mother does not drive away the night all at once, but she lights small lights inside you, a memory, a word, a gesture, a faith that starts again. That is how transformation happens, gently, like the dawn. Why was Mary prepared this way? Daughter, son. Mary was preserved from sin, wrapped in grace, and led by the Spirit not only to be my mother in time, but to continue being your mother for all eternity. Her mission did not end when I ascended into heaven. She continues in silence and faithfulness, bringing your steps closer to my heart, because the Father prepared her not only to bring me into the world, but to bring you to me every single day. And when you draw near to her, especially under the title of Guadalupe, you allow the same grace that transformed her to touch your life as well. Not in the same way because your mission is different, but with the same tenderness, the same faithfulness, the same love. Beloved son, I want you to hold on to these truths. You are loved with an eternal love. You are not alone. Your mother walks with you. There is always a path to start again. Grace never grows tired of visiting you. When you trust, your life opens up to quiet but real miracles. And son, daughter, right now, with the gentleness I have always used when I spoke to my friends, I leave you this loving request. If these words have reached your heart, like and share this episode so that more of my children can feel the comfort of my mother and my love. May this simple gesture become light for others who are walking in darkness. Simple application for today. Place your hand over your heart and say, Mother of Guadalupe, cover me with your mantle. Jesus, lead me in your peace. Repeat it until the calm comes down. Daughter, son, I am here.